This is the secret to waking up at 5 a.m. in the morning. My name is Tim Francis. I'm an entrepreneur here in Austin, Texas, and I am passionate about high performance. I really believe the thrilling pursuit of excellence is my main reason for being on this planet. I've read about waking up in the morning over and over and over again, from Jocko Willink to Alex Hormozy to Tim Ferriss to on and on and on and on. All these thought leaders talk about the value of waking up first thing in the morning and getting a fast start. There's one problem. I have been a night owl since I was 15 years old. Back when I was student council, president, working on high school projects and dances and whatever, I just wanted to keep going and going and going. And I was really rewarded when I would outwork my fellow teenagers. I won the scholarships and the awards and all the rest. And that really stuck with me through my whole life. And it's really just been my success criteria. One more thing, one more thing, one more thing. And if I can do one more thing each day, then I'm going to be more successful. And lo and behold, what that means as an adult means I'm going to bed at 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. pretty consistently. So how am I supposed to get up at 5 in the morning when my whole life, literally 25 years, I've been getting up so late? Maybe you find yourself in some of the same situation. So let's zoom back a little bit and look at the main reasons why getting up early in the morning might be valuable in the first place. So I think at the end of the day, this isn't the secret to getting up, but this is the reason to do it, is because of deep work. Cal Newport wrote an extraordinary book called Deep Work. And in the book Deep Work, he proposes 4 strategies of how to get more deep work done. We'll get to those in a moment. First, let's talk about what Cal says is why we want more deep work. So we want more deep work simply because we're now knowledge workers in the post-pandemic era, in the knowledge economy, where we are no longer competing locally. We are competing globally. No longer are we being measured against other people in our same neighborhood or our same city. We're literally up against talent worldwide. And that really started becoming an issue with the situation as the world became more globalized, but it especially became the case after the pandemic, because now we literally have, someone sitting in Missouri working for a company in California, maybe. Telework or remote work just became so common. So with us now playing on at minimum national and probably international playing field, there really is a tremendous reward to being one of the absolute best in the world. Because if the playing field is the world and we are the best at it, we can command the highest possible income. So the irony here is that despite the fact there's all this exciting upside to becoming one of the best in the world, it's actually now one of the hardest periods ever in mankind to become one of the best in the world, because our lives are just so full of distraction. And yes, there's the basic, obvious dinging, pinging, ringing of life, but there's also the hysteria of the media and feeling, like there's always some outrage thing going on. And because of all the fighting in politics and all the news that we get about all the bad news around the world, we might literally just feel upregulated and feel kind of nervous, honestly. So with all of that distraction, it's hard to get the deep work in that allows us to become one of the best in the world, that allows us to exercise our talents at the highest possible level. So Cal proposes these 4 different strategies to accomplish deep work. The 4 strategies are called monastic, journalistic, bimodal, and rhythmic. So let's talk about the 2 extremes first. At one extreme, we have monastic, like a monastery, right? So this is where we would go out into the woods for 6 months to write our book. Go off the grid and just do that one thing for an extended period of time. For me, that doesn't work. I've got meetings to take. I'm the salesperson for my business right now. I have fitness I want to uphold. I've got people I play volleyball with. I need to be in society. So that does not particularly work. On the other end of the extreme is what's called journalistic. So journalists, because they're constantly have to be at the end of their phones to take advantage of a hot new story or be ready to leave the office and go on location at any given minute, they have to just get their writing time in, their deep work time in, wherever they can get it. And Cal Newport shares in his book Deep Work that it's basically impossible to do that journalistic style of deep work unless you're a journalist. They, by necessity, have to go through the very hard process of developing their brains to be able to drop in such short period of time where they may not know how long they have to do the deep work. So that one's basically off the table as well. And I know for myself, I typically need time to kind of sink into a task to really do my best work. So that also doesn't work for me. What I have played with that has really generated some amazing results are the last 2. So the first is bimodal. So I was really having a tough time writing my book, and I just could not seem to get enough deep work in. So I started actually leaving downtown Austin and going to a resort on the outskirts of town, checking into a hotel on Sunday evenings, and waking up, First thing in the morning, off to the gym, at the hotel, work out, shower, and then after that, work from the hotel for at least 6 hours each and every time. Now that was fantastic. I made more progress in my first 3 or 4 Sundays/Mondays there than I had on my book in the entire year before. Absolutely game changer. Checking in at a resort every single week though does get kind of expensive pretty quickly. So I started thinking about how I'd be able to do this downtown Austin. Instead of like $400 a night for a resort room, could I maybe do it for like 1/10 the price, maybe like $40 a day by going to a co-working space? So I liked that. The only thing was that I thought that I probably would suffer with too many temptations that exist here in downtown Austin, including like the pile of mail in my apartment and the laundry to do. So I actually turned to my girlfriend for what I called some adult babysitting. I said, hey baby, would you be willing to go to the gym with me Monday morning? We'll work out together. Then from there, drive with me back to my apartment, stay with me in my apartment for about half an hour while I get changed, grab my laptop, those kinds of things, and head out the door. Then drive me to the co-working space a couple blocks away, drop me off, watch me walk into the front door of the co-working space, give me that adult babysitting, and then once I do, then, off you go. So I thought it was like a childish, ridiculous request, but to her extreme credit, she just looked at me and said, sure, that's it, just sure? She's like, yeah, let's do it. So off we went. So in total, between the resort time and my girlfriend giving me adult babysitting, in total, writing the book, I think it took me 7 or 8 Mondays, and I wrote 42,000 words, just like that. Book went off to the editor. It was got edited pretty quickly, and it's now actually back in my hands, and I'm doing my next round. So that's very much the bimodal. That's very much the bimodal approach. Sigmund Freud is known to have used that approach, where he would lecture during the week, I think in Switzerland, and then on the weekends, he would go off into the mountains and he would work on his deepest thinking on psychology. So just to quickly recap, there's 4 strategies. We've covered 3 so far. The first is monastic, where you go into the woods. The second is journalistic, where you just take little bits and pieces here and there. The third is our bimodal, where you're kind of on the grid entirely for a period of time. In my case, it was 6 days a week. And then you go off grid for 1 or 2 days a week to do your deep work. So this leads us to the 4th and final strategy for deep work. And the 4th and final strategy is what's called rhythmic. Rhythmic is where you get up early by 2 to 3 hours every single morning, and you do that, say, 4 or 5 days a week, or if your life doesn't permit that, maybe you spend 2 to 3 hours in the evenings. Maybe, if you've got kids, maybe it's after they go to bed or something like that. And by being in that rhythmic pattern, there's just no question. There's no decisions to be made. You make one front-loaded decision, and you consistently are doing your deep work at the same time every single day, probably something like 5 days a week. So a pretty amazing and extreme version of rhythmic is actually Alex Hormozi, and he describes it in his book, $100 Million Leads. Now, keep in mind, Alex is someone who, I think by age 30 or 31, his net worth was beyond $100 million. So incredibly successful guy. Didn't have a lot of entrepreneurial experience prior to becoming an entrepreneur himself. It's not like he came from a family of entrepreneurs or anything like that who mentored him through his youth. He really kind of learned on his own and, then got help from coaches and whatnot. And I'm going to read you a passage from his book, $100 Million Leads, that talks about his ultimate productivity strategy. So he says, if I had to pick the 3 habits that best serve me in my life, they would be 1, waking up early, 4 to 5 a.m. Pro tip, this actually means going to bed early. 2, getting right to work. No rituals, no routines. I drink coffee and get to work. 3, no meetings until noon. No interruptions. Nothing, fully focused work time. To be clear, I don't think there's any magic to waking up early, but I do think there's magic in a long stretch of uninterrupted work immediately after a long stretch of uninterrupted sleep. After all, it's the most productive hours in a row of the most productive work I can do with nothing getting in my way every single day. So again, that's a passage from $100 Million Leads by Alex Hormozi. I read that and it immediately made me think like, wow, what if I had that level of productivity every single day? The level of productivity that allowed me to write a book in basically 6-7 writing sessions. What if I had that like 5, 6, 7 days a week? And if I did that, what would be possible for me? And I started thinking through all the business training I've ever taken. And, and especially, reading Alex's book, $100 Million Leads, which is his second book, and seeing there's such a clear path on how to build a business. Once you've got your $100 million offer, which he talks about in his first book, to then go and promote it using the methods he talks about in $100 Million Leads. I'm thinking about this and like my business already has a great product and we already have a team in place for production. So if I don't have to do the production and all I have to do is focus on marketing and sales, this is my playbook, right? This is my playbook. And, I've taken a lot of training. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my training as an entrepreneur. And I think in the past, a lot of the training I took in marketing and sales, it felt kind of like, pieces of the puzzle. And I'm like, oh yeah, I could see how that could get us more customers and that could help us to increase prices. And, that could help us extend the value of a customer. But it wasn't until I read this book that it really helped me see, oh my goodness gracious, the exact way that I've been able to define and design what I want in terms of production, define and design in terms of legal, and I've been able to kind of scale up that part of my company. Only once I saw this book did I see, oh my word, you mean there's a sequence of the different marketing strategies. And when I saw that, I went, oh my God, I could definitely follow this. This is such a fantastic playbook. And I already know how to do quite a number of the different ideas in here, from headline writing and whatnot. This is a roadmap. I could definitely see doubling my business this year and doubling it again the year after that, maybe doubling it again the year after that, by simply defining and designing, following the roadmap that he's put here. So at the very beginning of our conversation here today, I said there's one thing that to me is the difference that now has me getting up at actually 5:30 in the morning. Now, let's be clear. This is a journey for me. It's very new territory. I've only been doing it for a few days, but what has me excited to go to bed now is that I now have inspired belief for a big goal that I really, really want. I don't think it's enough for me to make a massive habit change to say oh, well, I'm going to be 1% or 2% leaner when I do my next body analysis, or I'm going to add 10 pounds to my squat at the gym, or, I'm going to get 5% better at beach volleyball or something. That doesn't, it's not inspired. The idea though, of following Alex's path and possibly, generating $100 million of net worth for myself, and even if I don't get there, even if I shoot for the moon, but I, land amongst the stars and it's only half of this or something, or even a tenth of it, goodness gracious, that's life-changing. That's absolutely amazing. So we've got a big goal. We got a really, really big, exciting goal. And I also see how it's possible for me because we have a roadmap here on in the big picture of how to get there. And then on top of that, there's actually a very simple roadmap here of how I need to show up each and every day. And when I think all the way back to all the deep work experiences I've had in my life and how satisfying it is, and truly how it's allowed me to really catapult forward whenever I've been able to get that deep work time in, including writing my book, I go, oh my word, if I could literally just have more of that, heart would absolutely sing. And on my journey in the thrilling pursuit of excellence, it's just so important to me that I make good on the gifts that have been given to me by the divine and by my coaches, by my parents. And I just, when I get to the pearly gates, I don't want to feel like I wish I would have shown up a little bit more. I want to know that I put it all out on the playing field and I left nothing to chance, nothing to question. So deep work is the answer to fulfilling all my potential. And the key to fulfilling deep work, in my view, is getting up early. And in doing so, I know that gives me the maximum opportunity to make a very, very, very exciting goal come true. So my question to you is, what goal is so big that it gets you so excited? And then how can you create belief for you that it's actually possible by coming up with some kind of roadmap and surrounding you with the right mentors and community and whatnot? I think that if you went about designing that nothing would stop you. Nothing would stand in the way. Not even getting up in the morning at 5 a.m, or not having enough money, or not knowing the right people, or not having the right skills. I think that champion inside every one of us, including that champion inside of you, would magically just start finding a way. My name is Tim Francis. If you thought this was helpful, please do subscribe to my channel. It really helps me with getting the word out there. I think the thrilling pursuit of excellence is an amazing way to live. And if you agree with me, let's help spread the word. See you in the next one.